Hi, today we're going to go over some basics and not I'm talking basics about audio editing for when you're doing audio review for paranormal investigations. I'm going to be using Audacity today, which is a free download. It's a freeware software program that has basically all the bells and whistles that you need for an audio editing software package. Um, and we're going to be talking a little bit about voice recorders because you're going to be taking a voice recorder out in the field. Um, you need to make sure, number one, that it's a good quality recording device. But you also want to make sure that it has some capability of cabling into your computer or USB port ability into your computer. I had a unit, for example, that had a USB port underneath the sheath. You just push the sheath back and you could take the voice recorder and cable it or put it right into the computer and download your raw files. Uh, a lot of other units I've seen have cable, they come with their own cables and you USB them into the computer. It might also have an SD card or some type of file card that you just simply uh, place in the computer and download the files. But it has to have some way of sharing the files that you record in an investigation into your computer so that you can take a look at them. And the reason that's important is number one, you have to have some way of sharing the files with the client. But also, you need to be able to take the files and chop them up, edit them if necessary, and deliver a final project or a final product rather to the client. So I have taken files that I had from my own unit. I'm using a Zoom unit, by the way, and I found it to be of really good quality audio. So I would suggest, and very usable, so I would suggest that unit to anyone, or that company rather, to anyone that's looking for an audio recording device. Anyway, number one rule, you need to save your files somewhere where you can find them again. I can't tell you how many times I hear investigators, especially beginning investigators, say, well, I saved it on the computer and I went back and it wasn't there. When I do audio editing or EVP editing or retrieval, I always use my music library. I figure it's audio, it should go in the music library. So I'll start with the music library. And you can always add a new folder, and you can name the folder anything you want. So you might say new investigation. Okay. So now it's in the music library in its own folder, and you can save anything you want in there. I'm going to be using the second Hartley investigation folder today. Okay. And I've already done quite a bit of work in that folder. But these, and I said before that I use a Zoom audio recorder, these are my raw files uploaded directly to my computer. So they're there in all their majesty, in all their unedited majesty. Let me get back down. Okay. So I've got Audacity open here. It's just, as I say, it's just free software. There's nothing in it. I just opened a brand new Audacity file and it's as easy as clicking and dragging to move a file from my music library, a raw file from my music library, to my Audacity folder, or my Audacity rather. And it's downloading. It's going to take a little while because it's a 45-minute file. But here it comes. As we're waiting for it to come up, there it is. As we're waiting for it to come up, here are, these are minutes, and you can see that it's a 45-minute file. Down here as well is a very important um, thing to keep in mind. It's going to tell you where you are in space. So you can start playing it, and it'll tell you hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. When you're listening to your audio, you have to start at the beginning and go all the way to the end, however, however you get there. Audacity, if you stop it and start it, it will very often take you back to the beginning. So it's a very good idea to have a paper and pen by you when you're listening to the audio so that you can jot down where you are in space. For example, if I stopped here, I'd mark down 11:07 and make sure I jotted that down so I didn't have to start over from the beginning. And there you go. There's a beautiful example of it going back to the beginning. So by clicking up in here, I can kind of move around in the timeline. There we go. It's a little closer to where I was. And I can get back to where I was when I was editing, or listening rather. Another important feature of this is the zoom in and zoom out, and it does run real time. So for example, if I'm listening to audio and I want to see what's going on in a certain position, I can just hit that zoom in button, and it'll give me a wonderful pictorial of what's actually going on in that audio at that time. And this is one of the things that's so important about audio editing software versus just listening to it on the unit itself. You get a wonderful visual to go along with what you're hearing. So if you're listening to this portion, you can see that there's something going on, but it's low audio. And of course, EVPs are going to often be of low volume, so you might look for EVPs where the volume is low. And you can zoom in and zoom out to see where you are in space or how much longer you have to endure this as often as you want. And you can do it, as I say, in real time. So you can be playing it and zooming in and out at the same time. Of course, the buttons up here are rather self-explanatory, but I'll go over them anyway. You have the pause button, so you can pause where you are in space and then pick up where you were. You have the play button, which will, allow you to play. The stop button for backwards and forwards, and record, which you're probably not going to need when you're reviewing audio. This is the cut button. Very often, if I have a really long section of audio, I might actually highlight a section of it like that and do a cut. Open another frame of Audacity and do a paste and chunk it up. I had a 6-hour piece of audio handed to me not too long ago, and I managed to chunk it up into 3 or 4 different sections, which made the files that much easier to use. So that is something you can do very easily in Audacity. Anyway. Okay, and I did a Control Z to undo that cut. So it's just as easy as that. Control Z will undo things. And if you don't like the changes that you made, don't save the files or don't save the changes, which is which is very handy. So let's see. Zoom out, zoom in, chunk up long files. Oh, highlighting. If you do find something in your review that you want to save, you can highlight it. Now when I hit play, it will play only that highlighted portion. And I can change the highlighted portion anytime I want to. I see the hand icon, for example, and I can make this larger or smaller however many times I want to. Maybe I want to keep it there and just play that one section over and over and over again. But whatever it is you want to highlight, it will play that section over and over and over again until you tell it otherwise. And the way you can tell it otherwise is just to simply click with your mouse to take the highlight away. Uh, if you're having a great deal of sound in your file, I'm sorry, I'm looking and talking at the same time, you can use the effect drop-down menu. So for example, if I've got this one section and it's got a lot of sound in it, I can highlight it. I can go up to the effects drop-down menu and I can do something like a bass or treble or amplify. You got to be careful with the amplify because it will amplify it up crazily. Noise reduction, noise removal. Okay. This might be handy. What you want to do is, if you're going to use noise removal, you got to hit the noise, get the noise profile first, and then you hit OK. It'll isolate that spot. It'll take any noise out of the audio that's there. But you want to be careful with that because with EVP or anything involved with paranormal investigations, you want to do the least amount of editing possible to any of your original clips because you don't want to be accused of being fraudulent. So I try to keep my editing down to a minimum. Maybe raising the volume. By the way, this is the volume, and you don't want to raise it all the way up. You want to keep it fairly low so that it doesn't start to distort. The higher the audio, the more it's going to distort. Okay, and I try to keep my editing to a bare minimum. It's important to keep everything as clean as possible. If you want to find out how to do EVP selection, if you find something interesting and want to isolate it, I have a video of that as well. So, but that's the basic use of Audacity for EVP editing, and I hope it helps. Thank you.